Welcome to Champ Talk with Branden Hudson. I am your host, Branden Hudson, and today I have a very special treat for you guys out there listening and viewing. Today we have the man himself, the what else guy himself, the one-eyed buffalo himself. We got the welterweight champion, Louie Amabili. What's up, brother?
What's going on? Thank you for having me.
Amabili. I always say Amabili because it just sounds better.
Yeah, it's all good.
Guys, this episode of Champ Talk is brought to you by God's Country Harvest. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yep. My man, TJ Hornsby, man. I love that guy out there. He's been a super supporter for a long time. He's got everything going on. He is the Somerset County king of the farm industry, man. So check out him, and we always appreciate everything that you've done for us, for our program, for me, for Louie, and the whole nine. If you guys get value out of this episode, or know somebody that could use this or want to hear this, please like, comment, subscribe, share, do all that stuff. It really helps us. Give us a review on iTunes. That helps our podcast get to the top of the podcast views and listening, so other people can get a chance to get value of this. And again, please like and subscribe. But man, what's up, man?
Hey, I'm just glad to be here.
Yeah. So it's been a couple of weeks, man, since you won the championship, dude. Wow. Like, for those that don't know, Louie is the third SBY MMA champion, really third Salisbury-born MMA champion. You know, if there is another one out there, message us and let us know so we can correct ourselves. But because we do know that there's other competitors in other areas, other states that are from Salisbury. But no, man, you became number 3, man. You know what I mean, in SBY, and man, you really went on a tear this year. You started your MMA career this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm proud to represent the banner and become the third champion. I set out so I won the championship on October 26th. Mm-hmm. October 28th of 2023 was my first fight. So 2 days under a year.
Wow.
4 fights, like you've talked about. I've been in fucking fight camp for 8 months of this year. A crazy amount of sacrifice, a crazy amount of time, effort, dedication that's gone into it. But I genuinely fucking love it. Like, I love this shit.
Yeah. So the biggest question that everybody asks me, right, is how old are you? Because you turned gray a little early, right, in life, right?
Yeah. So it's funny because A.T. McCown on the broadcast was talking about, he's like, my man is in his mid 40s out here dogging these 20-year-olds. And then he asked me, I'm 35. So, I mean, I'm not that old. I'm still, like, technically in my physical prime.
Yeah.
But as you know, this is a young man's sport.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a young man's sport. So the recovery, I don't recover as quick as these 20-year-olds, 22, 23-year-olds. I have to put a lot of time and effort into my health, nutrition, sleep, recovery, all that stuff. I watched a thing one time. Everybody's fucking training hard.
Yeah.
Everybody's practicing. Everybody's putting the work in. So what separates the top of the heap from those other competitors? And it's like I said, those little things, the sleep, the diet, the discipline, really. The discipline is what separates. So, I mean, you preach that here, and you guys laid out the roadmap for me on what I needed to do to be successful. All I did was do what the fuck y'all told me.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's true, man, and thank you for those flowers. But that is definitely true, man. You know, we literally gave you the roadmap, and you literally followed it to a T. You almost followed it to a point of blissfully ignorance, to a degree of just whatever you say. That's how I was with my guys. Like, I don't know what you want me to do, coach. You want me to jump off this building and make me a better fighter? Sure, I'll do that. And lo and behold, you know, we were able to pull out the successes that we pulled out, and we did that for you, and you did the same thing. You just kind of just went into it like, hey, these guys know more than I do. They've been more experienced, so I'm just going to do what they say. And ultimately, it's been huge, man. It's been a big payoff. Tell us, man. I really want to know, because I haven't asked you this, right? I really want to know. It's a 2-part question, but the first part is what was it like fight night? Like, you know, we when we sign up to these fights, we're like, yeah, I'm going to sign up, I'm going to fight, and then we go through hell for 8 weeks, right? And it really doesn't dawn on us. You know, we have those moments where, like, oh shit, I'm about to do some crazy shit and get into a cage fight. But like, it's nothing like when you arrive that day, right? It's nothing like the weigh-ins are over, the ticket sales are done. you're rehydrated, you're refueled. Now you woke up, had a good shakeout, you had a good day's sleep, you're on your way, you get there, you show up, and even maybe you're a little bit checked in a little bit, but when you were starting to have a conscious feeling of, or a conscious thought of what it was like to be fighting for the championship, representing the entire city, representing such a, you know, a big school, a prestige school, you know, what was that like, man? Tell me about what was going on in your head, the thoughts.
So one thing, I've walked into each one of my fights with an immense amount of, I mean, obviously I'm nervous because I'm getting ready to fucking lock myself in a cage and fight another dude who's also training. I have the bit of imposter syndrome that goes on because I just started training mixed martial arts in general 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So no background in it whatsoever. So,
and I want to get to that in a minute.
There's the nerves that come along with that, but I walk in with an immense amount of confidence because I know I put the work in. And I have this great team behind me. My wife's a great support system. I've got all this great support system, but when it comes down to a mixed martial arts, it's a very lonely game. You know what I mean? So nobody else is there when I'm fucking running sprints at 7 o'clock in the morning. Nobody else is there when I'm sitting in that hot bath, cutting fucking weight. So I know, and only you know if you've put the work in. You know what I mean? So when you show up on fight night, you can say you've put the work in, you could show up to your practices, but have you really flipped every stone and left nothing unturned? And I can honestly say I've done that. So I show up with an immense amount of confidence in that regard. Now, there was a Joe Rogan podcast that I listened to that Sean O'Malley was on, and Rogan asked him a similar question. And he said something that I wrote down, and I go back and I read this throughout camp, and I've passed it on to a couple other people that have fought. And he said, on fight night, all the work has been put in. He's surrendering to the moment and allowing his higher self to take over. And I pretty much have just stuck with that. I mean, you put me on to the alter ego effect. So I've read that book. I've listened to that book. And that's another thing is I didn't even know this was going to happen my first fight when I walked out. I had no idea that I was going to walk out with this like supreme amount of confidence, playing to the crowd, talking shit on the mic. Like, who the fuck was that? It wasn't me. I go back and watch. I'm like, who the fuck is that guy? That's what else taking over. That's the alter ego taking over. And the way they explained it in the book is I can go in there and get knocked the fuck out in front of all my friends and family. Well, what else can get knocked the fuck out in front of all my friends and family? And then I can walk out of the cage and go back to Louie's regular life and not have to conflate those two together. So that's something that's given me a lot of confidence too. Is it's just one of them things, man. I just essentially I try to remind myself that I'm getting to do this. I don't have to fight. I'm getting to do this. So many people would love to do this shit, and for whatever reason, they can't physically, they can't put the time in, they got a family, whatever it is. I get to do this shit. I love it. And it's fun. At the end of the day, it's fun. So
yeah, no, man, I didn't know none of that, you know what I mean? Which is really cool because we've got a really tight personal relationship that's grown over the past 3 years. And, you know, you're a huge part of this program and huge part of my life. And, you know, our wives are friends. Your wife, you know, is one of my favorite humans. So that's cool to hear that. Yeah, take us back, man. If I recall, you know, for those that don't know, you know, and I thought this was the coolest thing ever, man. And I always ask our guys and gals when they decide they want to fight, like, why? Why the fuck do you want to do this, right? I love mixed martial arts so much. It's such a huge part of my identity. It's been a life changer for mine and so many other, lifesaver for mine and so many other people. You know, but when you get into the actual competition side, especially at the amateur and the lower professional level, it's not very rewarding. You know what I mean? You have to really have a major why in play to want to do this. And, you know, when I asked you what you thought about it, and it was kind of like everybody was kind of hinting around to it and kind of pushing a little bit, like saying you would probably do well. Your response was, if I'm going to be a coach, and mixed martial arts is where my passion is. You know, kickboxing isn't necessarily, jiu-jitsu isn't necessarily, you love both of them, but it's the whole enchilada, it's cage fighting itself that really moves the needle for you, and you want to coach and help with that, or you are, excuse me. You selflessly said that it's so that you could have the experience to be able to pass on to your students and to our guys and gals. And I thought that was so remarkable and such a higher level of thinking, especially coming from, a white belt or a brand new fighter. When I remember us talking about that incident or that kind of topic, it was down in New Orleans. We had went down to do IBJJF and compete, and we had a couple conversations about that. Just so I don't spoil it, for our listeners, our viewers, can you elaborate on that conversation we had, or the couple of conversations that we had back in IBJJF?
Yeah, I mean, you had asked me like my why on competing in jiu-jitsu and all this stuff. And it's funny because like I didn't just come into it with this like profound why, you know what I mean? I'm not some fucking profound person. Like I'm just a fucking dude for real, and all this shit is kind of developed organically. So I remember getting some of our other fighters ready, and they were doing cage work, and I had just started, and I was at fighter practice, and I remember you had like Dan working with them on the cage, and like you let me get in for like one round of trying to hold somebody down, and I was just like, dude, this is the fucking greatest shit ever. So like it was like that moment that I was like, all right, I just want to develop myself to get good enough to just be able to like give these guys some work in camp. Like I'm thinking to myself, I didn't even start training till 32, so like realistically, like I'm not going to make a fucking career out of cage fighting. Sure. You know what I mean? Like it's just not in the cards. And I didn't even think I was going to cage fight at all. Cause I mean, I had work, kids, and I had the awareness level to know that this shit's not a game. You know what I mean? People are getting fucking knocked the fuck out. So I'm not going to step in there unless I know I'm ready to step in there. So yeah, just wanted to get myself ready enough to be able to help those guys. And it was through that progression that I started to develop the skills and put the time and effort in to get to the point where I could actually fight myself. And like you said, I really just wanted to have the experience of going into the cage. Now, I don't necessarily think you have to fight in the cage to be a good coach.
Sure.
But in my opinion, for me at least, I like to get my hands dirty and know what the fuck I'm talking about. And I've already noticed like the level of respect amongst the other fighters and the other people in here since I've not only gone in the cage, but gone in the cage successfully. They want to listen to what I have to say now. Yep. So, I mean, I think that's kind of been a big part of it for me.
That's a fantastic point you make, because Coach Eric, always used to him and Hall about, he never wanted to learn from somebody who didn't do it themselves or couldn't do it, right? And you're right about that. I mean, John Danaher is a great example. He doesn't roll and doesn't train, and he's got one of the best minds in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And, Dwayne Ludwig, he's a phenomenal coach, Muay Thai coach, but had, a subpar career in the UFC. So, but I agree with you. For me, it had to be, I had to get in there to earn my credentials, because we didn't start, early on with a career of mixed martial arts, and stuff like that. And we didn't start with as, an 8-9-year-old developing in the game or any kind of combat sports in itself. So that was very important to me. And that's what really stood out to me about you, was just how, you were like, look, there's only one way about this, and it's trial by fire, and we're going to get our hands dirty. And it was a big gamble, you know what I mean, on yourself, which paid off, immensely, man. I mean, now you're forever the champ. You know what I mean? Which is crazy,
Yeah, it's like, we walk out of the cage and into the back, and we're just laughing. I'm like, can you fucking believe this shit? Like, I mean, it's like surreal every time that I would win. And if I'm being honest with you, I didn't even expect to win until this last fight.
Wow.
Like I expected myself to win that fight just after being through it. But I mean, the first fight you come in, like, you don't even really know if you belong. You've never done it before. Like like you said, I don't have a history in mixed martial arts. So it's like, I don't know what's about to happen right now.
Yeah, and all your jiu-jitsu matches were like the dog fights.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know what's about to happen in this first fight. So it's like, I go out in the first fight, I do well. My opponent's a dog. You know what I mean? We battle it out for 3 rounds. I end up getting the submission at the end of the last round. So like, now I have the confidence that I belong in there.
Yeah.
Second fight comes along. I fucking throw my back out on the Tuesday before the fight on Saturday. So like 5 days out from the fight, could barely stand up. I'm in the chiropractor all week. I'm nervous. I sold like 80 fucking tickets, like a bunch of tables. I'm like, I have to fight.
Yeah.
And I'm to the point where it's like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to protect myself. So I get myself good enough to like at least get in there and move around. End up getting the finish in that fight.
With a very, very game
opponent. Paul Samaru, very game opponent.
You've not had a slouch.
No. Every single guy I fought has been should be in there. They should all be fighting. 100%. They're all good.
And are winning now.
Exactly. Yep. Third fight, Gator Johnson. I mean, dude's a fucking literally 6'4". Hadn't thrown a punch in either of his first 2 fights. He finished both his first 2 fights by rear naked choke in a minute and a half or less. So I'm expecting, he's a purple belt. So I'm just thinking, don't let this fucking dude get me to the ground, right? Which is funny because I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. And in all my fights, I'm just trying to stand. You know what I mean? Like, I'm terrified. All these guys have like a life, like a career in wrestling, purple belt in jiu-jitsu, all this shit. And I'm like, well, fuck, I guess I got to stand with them. So I get in there with this guy. His fucking striking's immaculate, right? He's ripping me with kicks. Hands look good. I end up getting him out of there end of the first round. Thank God, because he was dangerous. And then the last fight, Melo Gonzalez, I'm gonna say that was probably my toughest fight as far as him pushing me physically and mentally. He was a game opponent. He strong stand-up game. He was tearing me up with kicks.
Very, very solid technique.
Very solid technique, very defensively sound. I couldn't land clean on him, and every time I fucking did land clean, this motherfucker would smile and nod his head like he loved that shit. Yeah. But he didn't want it to end. I wanted the shit to end. I want to get the fuck out of there. But I mean,
what about that part? What was it like to when you won? Like, especially after like the first 2 rounds, like it was like you were. You know, I would say you were doing well. I would say you were winning. Second round could have went, a toss up, but I was certainly nervous and screaming out, instructions for you because I could see the typical MMA, mistake and you get clipped and stuff like that. I saw that coming and I thought that was like, we were wide open for that. So after you get into the finish in the third round, what was going through your head? What was the feeling? Take us back to that moment.
Well, it's funny. Let me jump back to the coaching. So the first round, he throws a kick and slips, and I end up getting on top. And I controlled him pretty well on top. I beat him up on the ground. Hindsight being 2020, looking back on it, if I had just kept beating on him, he was showed up. They might have called it in the first round, but I'm glad I didn't. And I'm glad they didn't stop it because I don't know. Take this as you may, but like I didn't want to win off him slipping.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like I wanted to win because I fucking beat him. Yeah. So looking back, I'm glad I didn't get the finish on that.
Yeah, especially considering, not to cut you off, but a lot of people thought that was going to be a walk in the park.
Yeah.
And I told you, what did I tell you the week before?
You said absolutely not. It's going to be the hardest fight I had.
Yeah, I predicted a bloodbath. I did not think Melo is tough. He's durable. He's come from a great camp. You know what I mean? And his record may not reflect exactly how good he is, but he's a dog. He's not a slouch.
No, he's good.
Yeah.
He's real good. So he slips. I get on top. I beat him up pretty good on the ground. I come back. You're telling me we got to get this fucking dude on the ground, right? So second round, I go out. I don't attempt any takedowns, right? So we come back the third round, and you're telling me you're not going to knock this dude out. He's tough. He's defensively sound. You got to take him down. So the way I like to set up my takedowns, I like to throw an overhand to get him thinking about it, and then I like to come back 1-1 overhand, step through on the takedown. So I threw the first overhand. I come back on the second one. I go jab, jab. And I never threw the fucking overhand for my takedown attempt. I just came in naked on a takedown. He stuffs it, clips me, and I'm thinking,
that game plans out.
Terrible coaching idea. I'm not taking this motherfucker down. Right? So
for the record, it might not have been the coaching, it might have been the execution.
So I look back and I was laughing. So I was like, I didn't even fucking set it up. So I end up catching him clean, thank God, and dropping him, finish him on the ground. Yeah. TKO. And just like all of them, it's like such a surreal moment when they jump in and stop it. It's like I did celebrate a little bit after this one, which is like I don't really do a whole lot of like getting hyped up or celebrating. I try to stay real calm to conserve energy. And I almost have like I'm flat emotionally. Like I'm not mad. I'm not excited. I don't hate the guy I'm fighting. There's no ill will towards him. Like all the fights that have been finishes, like first thing I want to make sure they're good. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
you got your signature when they're announcing who and who, you're leaning against the wall or the fence with your hand behind your back. Just like, it's like, who does this old guy think he is?
Yeah, hit him with that, the Jorge Masvidal. That shit is so tough. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's just a surreal moment.
Maybe
really.
not necessarily after the fight though. When you got home or wherever it was, and it all just kind of hit and processed.
Yeah,
what
I mean,
was that feeling?
I've had a lot of stuff going on personally in the personal life. So if I'm being honest with you, like it was almost like a little bit of like depression after the fight for me. I didn't really like. It was just kind of like, all right, that was cool. You know what I mean? Like got in there, did my thing, like, and it's so cliche, like you got to fall in love with the journey to be successful with it. Like I really do enjoy dying and training leading up to the fight. Fight night's the easiest part of the game,
agree with 100%.
right? So I get done with that and it's kind of just like, a little bit of like sadness and depression. Like, what am I doing next now? You know, like that was cool. Became an MMA fighter, fucking torched the division, won the belt. What's my next side quest going to be? You know what I mean? It's like, am I going to fight anymore? I might. I'm going to take a little bit of time off now. But yeah, nothing. You would think that it would be like a different set of emotions that come along with it, but probably a little bit to do with what I got going on personally and all the stuff wrapped into one. It was kind of like a little bit of like a weight off my shoulders that like I got the job done, won the belt. Cause when I came into it, you told me, look, this ain't going to be a bucket list thing where you go fight one time. That's it. If you're fighting, you need to be fighting for the belt. And of course I've just fucking agreed because I wanted to fight. Yeah, whatever you say, coach, whatever. So, the journey started and it was like, finally like, okay, I've accomplished that. I can like take a deep breath because like we talked about earlier, I've been in camp for 8 fucking months, dude.
Yeah, I don't think people understand the magnitude. If you're in the fight world, you do. But I don't think people understand the magnitude of fighting 4 times in a year, especially like, at the amateur level, because you don't know what you don't know, right? So you can get away with it more then, but you just don't know, and it's a lot. And then, of course, at the highest level, you know what I mean? Fighting at the highest level in like the UFC is 4 fights a year. That's a lot. That's a lot on your body. That's a lot on your psyche. That's, you know what I mean? That's 8-week camps. And you were like me, you know what I mean? Well, we were similar, excuse me. We'd start a little bit earlier because we were older and we had to kind of catch up with the brutality. So, 8 months of your year, your first year, you're in here freaking just mentally alone. Like you said, mentally alone, physically, just punished, never good enough, eat shit and breathing another 170-pound fighter who's, doing the same, that's trying to make a highlight reel out of you. And people just don't understand the magnitude and even more so what it takes to win and win convincingly. Like it wasn't like you had these like, these mismatches. You're the number 4 ranked welterweight in the Northeast. Yeah, which is like impressive and crazy at the same time. You know what I mean? You didn't have these mismatches. You didn't have these one trick ponies like where you caught a guy in the first round or second round, he just went limp. Or you randomly dude fell into a sub. You have this ability and this incredible way to find a way to win no matter what the outcome and the circumstances are, which is like really, man, really kind of a tribute to your life. I mean, you've been a fighter for a long time. You played football over at SU. You played sports growing up. You know what I mean? You've overcome a lot. You know what I mean? I don't know if you want to talk on that or not or whatever, but you're not a stranger to going to what I say in training camp all the time. We're going to sit in the pit of hell and sleep with the devil. You know what I mean? Through this camp because we're going to go through the misery. I think that's kind of like a testament to your life. You know what I mean? Yeah. In a way.
So I mean, I'll jump it back real quick and so I battled with opiate addiction in I think I went to rehab in like 2010 or something like that. Yeah. I had played football collegiately, got kicked off the team, struggled with drugs on and off, went to rehab, got clean again, went to SU, played football one more time, started drinking and partying and stuff, ended up being the first victim to SU's drug testing policy. They caught me in the off season, drug tested me randomly,
quote unquote.
quote unquote randomly. And then with my genius thinking, since I was tested once randomly, there was no possible chance they would test me a second time. Well, fucking, I was definitely on the list. So
Sure.
I failed the second one, got kicked off, ended up getting myself clean a second time, got a job, pretty much like left sports and stuff like that, had kids, got a job, pretty much just living a regular life. It wasn't until I signed my daughter up for jiu-jitsu here that I got into the mixed martial arts world. But yeah, it's just been, I've battled with some stuff. I've learned to overcome adversity, how to believe in myself. There's really, and I say this not in like a cocky way, but there's not anything, and I genuinely believe this, that I can't put my mind towards and put the time, effort, and dedication into that I'm not going to be good at.
Especially now.
Especially now.
Yeah. Talking back on your struggles, back in those days, you don't drink at all now. Mm-mm. You don't drink. You don't partake in marijuana. That's just a no-no for you. And one of the things that I really respect and appreciate about you, and especially not in that part. I mean, I'm happy that, but you're a man of non-negotiables. If you have a non-negotiable, it's not going to happen. And I'll tell you what, just having you a part of our culture and our organization has put an immense good kind of pressure and responsibility on me to live up to a even higher standard. Because listen, man, as a leader, we think that we're leaders, right? And I've got to be it for everybody all the time, right? But then what happens is once you get to the next phases and levels of leadership, right? Then all of a sudden you start attracting other great men and great women and great leaders, right? Well, now it starts to get a little different, and now you're talking about a leadership in uncharted waters, right? Because now, not only am I leading people who are people that are in need of leadership, but now I'm leading other leaders who. Yeah, we need leadership, but still, we're already doing pretty well for ourselves. We're already doing. So then when you see, for me, guys and gals like yourself come into this organization, and now all of a sudden they're leaders, and they have certain core values that they live with, and certain non-negotiables that they live with, and certain ways that they view, their standard of living. It's like, that puts the pressure on a true leader. There's a lot of them, and I'm not saying I'm perfect, because I'm not without flaws, but for me, it's like, okay, cool. I got, Louie and Andrea looking at me that I respect highly and love in all ways, right? There's no way that I can drop my, whatever, X, Y, and Z and not be this and not be that. And, I have to always step up to that next level and always have to best my best because my friends are counting on me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The people that I care about are counting on me. So for me, that was a lot of things that I've learned from you, of just having certain non-negotiables. You've talked me off the ledge on so many different things at times, even if you just listen to me bitch and go in and things like that. And it's, it's a value, and it's really, for me, it's really important to have people like that in your life and to hold on to those people and to help nurture those relationships and help pour into those relationships and give back. So that was why I brought that up, because I know that you had, been fighting and been, you're just a dog, man. You got that dog in you. And I love that about you. And I love that about what we represent here at the school, because a lot of us have that. You know what I mean?
And to speak about me having the dog in me, like, yeah, I do. I genuinely do. But I can't tell you the camps that you guys put me through to get me ready for fight night. I mean, I've been through camps where I didn't win a single fucking exchange on the ground. In cage wrestling, standing up, I just got my ass beat for 8 fucking straight weeks long so that I could win on fight night. And it speaks to, you've talked about having to go through this in your camp, being willing to lose in here and tuck your ego away so that you can win on fight night. Because if I feel like I need to go out and win every single exchange in here, for one, I'm not getting better if I am. If I'm the best guy in the room, you say it all the time, you need to find a new gym.
Sure.
Right? So just the willingness and the ability to know how to lose when it's the time for you to lose so that you can win when the lights are on.
Absolutely, man. I love that, man. And that's so spot on. Even speaking to this camp, we had some changes go down, right before with the gym, and some personnel, changes and things like that. And just all of it, we had some circumstantial stuff. We had some decision making stuff and all of it. Actually, right around your last fight, right?
Yeah.
So we pulled out a little rabbit out of our hat trick, you know what I mean, and decided, I decided I was going to reach out to an old friend of mine that had helped me tremendously, and see if he was on board with showing some love, man. And I gave a call to old Carmelo Guerrero, man. If you guys don't know who Carmelo is, Carmelo's brother is Fernando and Alex Guerrero. Freaking awesome human beings. I've had more interaction with Carmelo and Alex, than I did with Fernando. But Fernando was the guy. He inspired me to do the fights at the Civic Center because he packed it out with fights, and awesome boxer. But they said that Carmelo was probably one of the hardest ones to deal with because he just had it, man. He had a lot of good skill, hard work, gifts, and great human all over. And he ended up not being able to compete. I guess he had a medical issue that wouldn't let him go pro and so forth. And he just randomly walked into a gym, the old gym that I was at, and decided he was going to help us out. One of the freakish athletes we've ever seen in our lives. And man, me and him really hit it off, man. We really had a good relationship, a lot of respect, a lot of appreciation. And he helped me out through a couple of my camps, and I'll tell you, it was probably some of the hardest training sessions that I ever went. He's got a gym in Princess Anne. It's Carmelo Guerrero Productions Boxing Club. Yep. Boxing gym or boxing.
Guerrero Productions Boxing.
Yep.
I believe. Yeah.
Yep. And he's really passionate about just giving to the kids. That's like his MO. It's like, he's just opening up for the kids. He's always been like that. He's such a great human being. But tell me about that, man. Tell me what it was like with that.
Yeah. Shout out.
I might have his book up here somewhere because he actually wrote a book, and I'd have to find it. But yeah, he actually has a book that he wrote. Name Her Value, I think it's called. And just awesome dude. But yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, shout out to Carmelo Guerrero because he had me ready on so many different levels. My hands, obviously, with the boxing, the cardio, like we talked about, the training when you're in camp is insane. I'm training 5-6 days a week. For like 3 or 4 of those days, it's 2-3 times a day to get all my running, lifting, all the different mixed martial arts. So I got kickboxing, boxing, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, cage, all the shit. There's not enough days in the week to get it all in, right? So you get me set up with him down there. And first of all, he's just one of those guys that you want him to be proud of you, right? Yeah. Like you want to make him happy. So it's like, and it's not like, he's not like an asshole or mean. It's just like, he's just got this way about him, this aura on him. So I get down there and I train my ass off. This was the hardest fucking hour of training I've ever undergone in my entire life through any sport, anything. All day long, I was with him on Tuesdays and Thursdays. All day long leading up to it, I would have anxiety. It's dead serious. I'd be fucking nervous.
I laugh because I know that feeling.
Fucking nervous about how fucking exhausted I was going to be for this 1 hour with him. And I've told you the story before. I rolled up and it's in Princess Anne. It's like kind of like a little storefront set up. So there's like a glass window you can see through. And it's like the second or third day I go up there and I roll up and I park in front of it and I look inside and this motherfucker's got the lights off. He's got the rope working head movement and he's just fucking, ripping fucking combos, like doing the most intense shit ever, like leisurely for fun on his own. So I'm just thinking like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Like if he's just having fun doing that, what the fuck's he about to do to me? And he fucking tortured me.
Yeah.
But through that torture, I gained so much confidence, not only in my hands, but the cardio. I feel like my cardio for this camp was by far the best my cardio has ever been. So yeah, shout out to Carmelo. He really had me ready. He's also one of them guys that he doesn't let shit slide either. Right. So it's like, any little bit of technique, he wasn't letting nothing slide. So my technique felt crisp. I thought it was funny that he never used a timer. So it's like, it's not like he said it for 5 minutes and I knew I was going to get a break in 5 minutes. He's just going and going and going. And I told you the one time he actually flipped over a fucking sand hourglass that he was using. I was like, if this motherfucker's got a sand hourglass, like I'm definitely getting better at fighting, right? Some Mr. Miyagi type shit.
He's a great human, man. He's a tremendous, he's one of the most freakiest athletes I've ever seen. I've seen him do some wild stuff. And, he he's just a good human.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's just a really good human being. And I'm so happy for him, man. You know, if you got some kids that are looking to get into boxing and want to train, definitely shout them out.
Yeah.
We got a boxing program here, you know, at SBY, but you know, it's nothing like, you know, some of the local boxing programs, you know what I mean? The local boxing gyms, you know what I mean? And, you know, they're geared towards the art of boxing. You know, we have a boxing program where we complement our MMA program with that, you know what I mean? And we kind of give people a chance to work out, but we don't have, you know, I'm not going to be the one to say we have a boxing, you know, legitimate sanctioned boxing gym with, you know, you go up to Main Street for that stuff, you know, go catch Coach Rick at, you know, down under, you know what I mean? You know, definitely holler at Carmelo down in Princess Anne, but that's, you know, he's the man, dude.
Yeah.
And he's the man. The cool thing is you're right about that. You want him to be proud of you.
Yeah.
You know, it's just one of those things where, you know, and he's younger than me, right? I'm
Yeah.
like, man, you're younger than me. I want you to be proud of me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But and he's just a supporter, man. You know, he just wants to see people do good. He's just, I got nothing but great things to say about him.
Yeah,
You know, his
me
brother
too.
Alex is awesome. You know, I've known him for a little bit, met him. But don't spar him.
Yeah.
Don't spar him. Good Lord, it's painful, you know. But no, he's great. That was a big trick. Look, people are going to hear this episode. You know, they're all going to be hitting him up. You know what I mean? Give us a secret juice, Carmelo. You know what I mean?
Hey, if you're willing to put that work in, it ain't a fucking, it's no joke.
Yeah,
though.
well, I talked to him to thank him the day before or the day of the fight beforehand.
Yeah.
I just want to thank him and tell him, you know, look, man, I appreciate it no matter the outcome. We're super grateful and you know, we appreciate everything. And this, he said, well, man, you got a good guy on your hands, man. He said, I put him through the test and he passed. I said, oh, he told me. Yeah, so, but that's the thing, you know what I mean? Like you go holler at somebody like that, or you go reach out to somebody, you better be willing to drop your ego and just, yes, coach.
Yeah.
You know, you showed up every session. You showed up on time. You know, there was no bullshit. No, because you don't get a second chance.
Yeah.
You know, you get one chance with guys like that and you don't get another chance. So it was cool, man, to have that. And that was a little secret weapon that we pulled out that we didn't really let nobody know. And it paid off really well. And shout out to Carmelo down there. Switching gears. You know, you've been battling some stuff, you know what I mean, and fighting a lot, you know what I mean, and things like that, you know what I mean. And a lot of people, some people, you know, have an idea what's going on, and some people don't. And there's just certain things that we're just not even going to get into on here and talk about, just because it's sensitive, you know, material, and it's nobody's business, and you know it's ongoing, you know what I mean. You know, man, how are you able to smile every day with what you're going on? How are you able to show up to practice? How are you able to pour into so many people? How are you able to be such a leader and still, you know, going through? Because, you know, we talked about you talked about the depression side of it. You know what I mean? We, you know, meet up in the parking lot right after that fight, you know, randomly. And next thing you know, we're both kind of, you know, hugging it out and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And you know, I totally understand that. Don't understand it by firsthand experience. Totally understand the highs and lows. You know, it ain't just take it on the chin and be tough and suck it up, buttercup. You know what I mean? Because here's why I'm asking this question. We have a lot of young men out there right now that are really struggling, right? And they're struggling not because they're going through what you're going through, not because they're going through anything that would be dubbed hard. They're struggling right now because they're going through this society, this life of just not being shit, right? And, you know, they've developed addictions to social media and video games and vaping. And there's a lot of single parent homes that are, you know, single mother households that are going on. And it's creating, you know, we all the time hear shit and talk about this beta male, right? You know, but there's two sides of this. There are levels to that. There are choices. There are decisions. Action cures all. At the same time, man, it's a circumstantial thing. You know, I mean, they said something like, I heard somewhere in the research that the social media addiction right now is for kids and people is equivalent to the 80s cocaine addiction. Yeah. Which is insane, right? And the levels of male suicide, the levels of depression, the levels of anxiety, the levels of, you know, unemployment, and the lack of all the many things that we have that we're dealing with as society that we know that a lot of gurus and people are going to be like, suck it up, buttercup, you got to be a man, you know, bop, 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 right? But they're not really understanding the other side of that. And again, there's truth to that. Someone like yourself who, you know, you're 7 years, 8 years younger than myself. so you grew up with social media. You grew up with a time where, your parents, you know what I mean? They made very good choices and decisions with their money, and they had a solid living family. So one would say it would be easier for Louie to fall into that trap and fall into that, hand me down, give me, or silver spoon, the victim mentality, based upon what's on the paper, right? But you haven't, and you don't, and you fought so many things, and you fought so much this past year and things like that. What did that? How did you able to get through that and be able to still pour into your job and excel, pour into your family, pour into your wife, pour into all the things, pour into the club without, literally going crazy and just crumbling or like something like I would do, make a fucking horrible decision and blow it all away. Like, tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, so just to give a little background, I'm going through a custody issue. So I've not really, I've talked to my kids a couple times, but not really got to speak to them or see them pretty much in the past like 6 months. It's been super difficult, like you said, I don't even want to get up and go do anything every day. So, I learned a while ago, actually through the AA program, is that when I'm having a tough time, I need to go serve other people. Right. Yes. So it's been immensely beneficial. Like, I don't want to fucking get up in the morning and go to work or come to the gym, but it's like once I get here and I start working with people, especially working with the kids in the kids class, it just provides me that, like, at least for that day, a sense of relief, right? I'm super grateful that both of my kids were able to at least watch me fight. My daughter was at the first fight. Both my kids were at the second fight. And it's just kind of fucked up in the sense of, actually Justin was telling me, he was like, dude, you know how fucking dope it is for your kids to be there, like watching you fight in a cage? And I like thought back on it and I was like, yeah, like when I was younger, my dad was like my superhero, you know what I mean? So it was like the coolest shit ever. So to be able to have them there and watch me do that, and the winning and losing is neither here nor there, just the fact that I step in there and have them in attendance. So it's just fucked up to me that was taken away from them for these last two fights, that they didn't get to be a part of it. Because I had them up in the ring with me afterwards. It was just a cool experience for everybody, right? But yeah, it's been tough. It's a daily battle. I find a lot of relief when I stick to my daily routine as far as waking up in the morning, writing in my journal, praying and meditating. And it doesn't got to be a fucking hour long, even a 30-minute long thing. I'm talking 15, 20 minutes in the morning. When I can consistently do that, oh my God, it's like a night and day difference. The crazy part is I have an immense amount of resistance to getting up and doing that when I'm depressed, right? So it's like that catch-22. I don't want to wake up and put the work in because I'm fucking depressed. But by putting the work in, it pulls me out of the depression, right? So I just gotta, and I go through like weeks at a time of not doing shit with my daily routine, not praying, not meditating, and I suffer because of it. My relationship at home suffers because of it. My relationships at work suffer because of it. But when I can actually find it within myself to have the awareness to get up and fucking quit throwing a pity party for myself. Because guess what? Nobody fucking shows up to my pity parties anyway. It's just me fucking having a pity party. And then guess what? All them problems are still fucking there when I'm done having it. So I'm grateful I haven't made any bad decisions or done anything fucking crazy, because I've wanted to plenty of times. I've wanted to just burn the whole shit down. But what's that going to get me?
Right.
Fucking in a whole raft of shit on top of the problems I already got going on.
Then
so
we start all over again.
They start all over again with some extra shit. So really it's just, I mean, it's like we talk about, one of the core values, do the fucking work. Like there's no two ways about it. Anything you want to do to find success, you got to show up and do the fucking work, period. So when I do the work, I can find some relief. I understand it's not going to be like this forever, right? Everything's going to, the court system is just super dysfunctional and backed up, especially in the state of Delaware. So it's just a waiting game. And just like anything else, it doesn't get to happen on Louie's time, right? There's a saying, God doesn't own a wristwatch, right? So it's going to happen when it's supposed to happen, not when Louie wants it to happen. And guess what? If shit happened exactly when Louie wanted it to happen, shit would be all fucked up anyway. So I got to just keep that perspective and understand that it's not going to be like this forever, and just trust that it's going to end up playing out the way it's supposed to.
I love you, man.
Yeah, I love you too.
That's probably one of the most profound things I've ever heard on the show. And, you know, it's so many golden nuggets from there.
Yeah.
There'll probably be a reel pulled out from that.
Yeah.
You know, we'll mark it for you because it just goes to show you, you know, action cures all, routine, servitude. You know, you had so many gems in that, man. And, you know, I'm lucky. We you know me, and I'll say this: we 100% support you, and we 100% got your back. You know what I mean? And you know, and I've told you this before. I don't feel sorry for you because you don't want nobody to feel sorry for you. I empathize with you. I'm here with you, man. And just very lucky and blessed to have you not only a part of this organization and you know a part of so many young people's lives and middle age and older as well, but so many people's lives that you affect and you touch. It's just. You're a true blessing to so many, dude. And I don't ever want you to think about. I don't want you to ever take that for granted, right? And ever get caught up in your own shit because it's easy to, you know, especially on the quest of business success, our own stuff, all of the stuff, man. We can get caught up in the fact that you know we forget how many people we touch and how many people we impact. And we never want to say we do it because God forbid us tell anybody we're winning or we're doing great things because all the fucking trolls and haters and dysfunctional fucking disappointment pieces of shits out there will sit here and run their mouths about you. And God forbid somebody say something about me in magical Facebook land or social media land, right?
Yeah.
We trick ourselves into believing that. But don't ever forget that, man. You are a blessing to so many, dude. And I firmly believe that, you know, you are set on this world and this earth to impact so many lives, man, and you know this storm will be over soon.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You got a list. We got to wrap this up. You got a list of people you wanted to shout out and give thanks to, man. Go ahead.
Absolutely. All my sponsors for this fight, y'all helped out with my camp immensely. Sponsor of this podcast, God's Country Harvest. He also sponsored me for my fight. Underground Facilities Unlimited, UFU, Kellen's Cafe, Joe's La Roma, Wash It Laundromat. Discount Carpet, my dad's store. They do zero marketing, so finally we're getting some fucking marketing for them. That's what I'm talking about.
Big Lou.
And then Fiera Studios doing hair all the way out in Omaha, Nebraska.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
with the
How about that, man? And you know, you've got a full-time job. You also work for the gym. You know what I mean? How can people find you? How can people get in touch with you?
You can find me on Facebook, Louie Amabili. Search me. Instagram at holistic physique _
Cool. Yep. And if you guys want to get in touch with Louie, say you want, you know, some one-on-ones, some privates, some personal training, some mindset stuff. This guy's layered, man. He's got so much that he can offer and so much. So, man, thank you so much for coming on, man. We're very proud of you and appreciate everything that you've done for this club and yourself, man. And man, you're a champ, man.
Absolutely.
It's pretty awesome. Guys, thank you for listening and tuning in. Listen, again, this episode was brought to you by God's read it to me, Jesus.
God's Country Harvest.
God's Country Harvest. Sorry, TJ, man. I love you, man. I've been his friend for like 20 years. And we thank you for your support. Also, again, if you got value from this, if you know somebody that would, please go to the YouTube channel, like, subscribe, go to the Facebook channel, like it, subscribe, comment, give us some feedback, you know, go to the iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're everywhere, man. But the more that you pass us and share this, the more we can help people. But that'll wrap us up for another episode of Champ Talk with Branden Hudson. What are you doing today to become a champion?